about God dimension is that He permits in that dimension, He permits the presence of an anti-will being. So the anti-will being, obviously being Lucifer, being all of his demons that he threw out of heaven because they chose their own will against the will of God. I've preached this many times. I don't have to go there again. But the reality is that from the moment that Lucifer used God's will, God's glory and creativity to create his own will, there has been the determination that he was going to try and raise up every other being will in the universe against the will of God. Because that would authenticate him and his will. And that is still the biggest challenge that you and I face, is that God made us with a will so that we can be like God. And being like God, we have the right to choose. So, this is a fact that there is, in the God dimension, there is an anti-will presence and there is a pro-will of God presence. Yeah? Yes. Okay. Now, the time will come when there will only be one will in the universe, and that will be the will of God. And the Bible tells us that the time will come when God will say, enough, devil, all your angels, and all of those who made a decision to follow their own will and never follow the will of God, those beings will all be taken up together and they will be cast into an eternal jail, an eternal prison, where they will be bound up and live in a lake of fire for eternity as a judgment for raising their will up against the will of God. This will happen. It will happen. God said this will happen. That is not a nice place for any of us to want to contemplate being there. And so it's quite an amazing thing that for all of the years that all of the timeless, infinite eternity that we will be present, and I don't know, I've tried to think about this myself from time to time. Just when I feel like I want to just be a little weird in my thinking, I try and imagine myself into timeless, infinite eternity. It's like you never really, I can imagine this. This is just me and my imaginings, okay? So you never know how much time has gone by because it doesn't exist. So you're just always in the ever-present now, and you never really care how much time has ever gone by, because in the ever-present now, you're always in the presence of God. And He is so good and majestic and marvelous that you can't stop praising Him and agreeing with everybody else around you how wonderful He is. And so then for a moment, you may think, oh, I wonder what time it is, and you don't care. And you don't want to measure it because you don't want to think about it, because who wants to think about it because it doesn't matter? Huh? But I tell you, if you're in the other place, you're going to know every second that goes by. You're going to know about it because you want to get out of it. And you'll never, ever be able to get out of it, because eternally you'll be stuck in this never-ending place. Some people have described it like this. I can believe it. They've described that every desire you've ever had on the earth that you were never able to fully fulfill, that you're always pursuing to fulfill your lust of your flesh desires all of your life, that will be what you will experience eternally, ever present. Now you will always have those desires and never be able to fulfill them. They will be consuming desires that you want to fulfill, and you can never actually get them. Like, for example, if you were thirsty and you were always eternally thirsty, take a bucket of salt, suck it down, and then get thirsty, and then try and quench that thirst, and you can never quench that thirst. For eternity, you can never have water. Huh? You can't do with water for about 5 minutes. Yes? It's not something I like to preach about a lot. It's not something I like to think about a lot, but sometimes we have to talk about it because it's a real thing. It is a real thing. And if we don't make a decision for Jesus, it's a possibility. Yeah. And And that's why anybody that's listening to this message, any which way, God has already brought you to this message so that you can hear it, because He doesn't want you to go there. He wants you to be in eternity with Him. So best you make a decision right away, right now. Say, Jesus, I'm here. I want you to live in my heart. I give you my heart. I believe in you. Be my Lord and Savior. Believe it in your heart. Receive Him through the words of your mouth. And you can be with Him eternally. Infinitely, eternally.